it does make sense to take China to the WTO in these circumstances. First, because the polite attempts at establishing a direct dialogue have failed. As you know, the Chinese ministers refused to pick up the phone. So, and contacts through the two embassies have yielded no meaningful dialogue at all. So, going to the WTO first is an established procedure. It's normal if there's a dispute under the WTO. And second, because it makes Australia the respectful, rules-abiding country in this morality play, if you like, masquerading as a trade contest. And it means that Australia can portray itself as being a stickler for the rules and a model multilateral world citizen.
What does Australia need to do to ensure it's got the strongest case possible as it takes the WTO route?
Well, with this initial commodity, I assume there'll be others to follow. The initial one is barley, and the Australians are pretty confident that on the technical level they will prevail. Well, that's okay. A couple of other things, though. First is that you want to, this is a trade technicality, but as we know, this isn't really about the trade. The Chinese government is using trade as an instrument of pressure. And if you look at their 14 demands against, or 14 grievances against Australia that they handed to a Nine journalist a few weeks ago, those 14 grievances, not one of them is a trade issue. This is not actually about trade. It's about, stop criticising the Chinese Communist Party, stop your media criticising China, let us buy more of your assets through foreign investment. These are the things that they're actually animated about. So the trade is just a tool. So it's politics. And if you want to win at the political level, then what Australia needs to do, Yvonne, is to bring more countries, as many as possible, to the table to join Australia in the suit against China. And Australia, I think, could reasonably expect to bring the US to the table as a co-litigant, if you like, perhaps Japan and the EU, and maybe some others, Canada, UK, we'll see.
And what other lessons can be learnt from other similar cases taken to the WTO in the past?
Well, there was a really, I think, particularly useful precedent when there was a trade sanction by China against Japan in 2012. China was upset with the Japanese over a territorial dispute over the Senkaku Diaoyu Islands, and effectively cut off Japan's supply of rare earth minerals, otherwise known as critical minerals, which are used in everything from computers, mobile phones, through to global positioning technology, satellites, and missile direction finding. So they cut off their supply to Japan. China at that time had a near monopoly, more than 90% supply of the world market. Japan did two things after taking it to the WTO. First, it brought that case together with the US and the EU, which was a powerful political statement. And then, having won the case, and the Chinese retracted the ban on Japanese supplies of critical minerals, rare earths, the other thing that emerged from that was even more meaningful, I think, which is that Japan then worked with the US and Australia in recent years to bring on more critical minerals deposits around the world. Turns out Australia is one of the biggest in the world, to increase the supply of non-Chinese critical minerals in the world. So China's control over that market has been, near monopoly has been broken. China's share of that market is way down, and it's restructured the market. So if Australia can bring a political will to this and get other countries to agree to cooperate in a restructuring of the global markets, for whatever it may be, to take some of the global negotiating power out of China, that would be a really meaningful and transformative, lasting result of any such action.
And Peter, what's your assessment of the government's overall handling of these trade bans so far? Are you surprised that there hasn't been a stronger response?
Well, the government has been, I guess it is surprising because the sheer scale and number of trade embargoes that China has imposed on Australia without any trade-based reason, really. They're confected excuses. It's really a sovereignty crisis that we're confronting here, where China is seeking to break Australia's will. But yes, rather than reacting to that, the federal government, Simon Birmingham, he's a little bit soporific at the best of times, but he's doing his soporific best to keep it very calm, very reasoned, and rational, and keeping it to the trade technicalities. And that's been, I think, probably the smart thing to do, since the whole Chinese approach is to provoke Australia. And the one exception to that was on a non-trade provocation, which, as you know, was when the Chinese Foreign Ministry published the image of an Australian soldier with a knife to the throat of an Afghan child, which set the Prime Minister off. And that was a little bit intemperate. But on the trade stuff, yes, the Australian approach has been measured and calm, and I think that's the right approach to take.